Okay, hello everyone. We are live, and I am just checking out. Okay, we are officially live, I believe, and I am using my stopwatch to help me keep track of time. So if you see me looking down, that's what's going on. Hello everyone. It is Ayana, your life coach, here helping working moms who are feeling overwhelmed, on the verge of burnout, learn how to be kinder to themselves, learn how to transform their mindsets so that they can be happy, healthy, and feel more productive. Okay, so if you are struggling with that, please reach out and check in with me. I'd love to support you, or if you know someone who is, or share this video with them so that this can be helpful. Now, this video today is all about. Let me look at the title there. Oh, yes, this is my mental health perspective on the Supreme Court. Now, there are so many things that are going on in the world today, that are happening constantly in the news. It's really crazy and it feels overwhelming. I personally, I've cared about politics and I've been involved in community organizing from the time that I was a kid. Growing up in the Bay Area, you were kind of born into it for a lot of us. So it's something I've really cared about a lot. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, how all of these different things, and especially the things that happened recently with the Supreme Court, the recent decisions that can affect our mental health and what we can do about it. So that's what it'll be broken down into those three things. So what's going on, how it affects our mental health, and some tips to overcome all of that. It may be a little bit longer, but hang in there with me because there's some good stuff in it that can help you through these difficult and challenging times. And if you're not in the US, we all have challenging things that are going on in our world. So this video can help you kind of cope with those things as well. All right, so let's dive on in. So first things first, when we're dealing with the different things that have gone on, I mean, it feels like the Supreme Court in the United States has been on a tear, right? They have just been going for broke. And, my personal politics, I'm a progressive, and it feels like Republicans have been after this for decades. And, they have gone after LGBTQIA plus communities. They have gone after affirmative action, Roe v. Wade, et cetera, and more, right? There's so much that is happening. And one of the first things I just want to say is that all of this can be very hard to digest because the way that the Supreme Court is behaving right now is in a very unfair way, right? I am not a Supreme Court scholar, right? So, there have probably been times in American history where we're similar. But we are a country of 360 million people. And all of these issues, or most of these issues that have come up recently, have polled favorably for keeping these rules and laws on the books. And yet, the Supreme Court has reversed them. So, right now in the US, 5 or 6 people are making decisions that impact 360 million people and are grossly unpopular. And they are reversing law, right? They are not, they are not trying to create laws that are improving rights. They are making things more restrictive, and it's extremely difficult. And let's call a spade a spade. It's scary. It is very scary, right? And it is normal for us to feel overwhelmed and concerned. And, just to be very clear, right? The founders of this nation, even though they had a lot of problems and issues, they were grossly afraid of monarchy and oligarchy. They were grossly afraid of exactly what is happening right now, which is that these decisions are being that the decisions for many are being made by a tiny minority, a tiny few. And this feels very, I know that a monarchy is one, but this feels very similar given the proportion of people that are in the United States. So I just wanted to put that out there and then also too, the things that are going on when it comes to the decisions that were made, a lot of them are made in ignorance. The affirmative action decision, for example, a lot of the backlash around affirmative action is based on ignorance. And when I say ignorance, right, I'm a former educator. I taught for over 12 years. When I say ignorance, I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean that a lot of people just don't know history, right? So, affirmative action, a lot of people have it in their head that it's exclusively for black and brown people. But number one, the biggest benefiters of affirmative action were white women, which was much needed for them too. Affirmative action is not just about black and brown people, right? Although it is supposed to benefit, it's supposed to benefit all those groups who were historically left behind. And white women have benefited in a wonderful way from it. People of color have benefited from it as well. But affirmative action also too, another myth around it that is unjust and not true, is that it is giving somebody an undeserving person of color an opportunity that would go to a better qualified white person or Asian person, as it was in this case. And that is just not the case. Okay? You can't give, if you think about any job or a college application, colleges aren't going to let in students who they think are completely unprepared because they know that that's only going to involve them dropping out. So it's about taking people who are qualified for the college position or the job and then looking at race, ethnicity, gender, LGBTQIA plus communities, looking at all these other factors to make a decision, right? So it's taking already qualified people. And for those people who are not, who did not get into their dream schools just despite having all of the academic accolades or despite having really good GPAs, I can tell you from somebody who worked inside the education system that that's not all people look for. That is not the only measure of success, right? There are so many other things that go in and measure success. So all affirmative action was trying to do was to say, hey, there are communities in this country who started, there were white men who had a lot of privilege, who had a lot of access to resources, who were ahead, way ahead in the race. And then there were other groups of people who were progressively further and further behind in the race, right? They were white men, the what do you call it? The gun went off for them a lot earlier, and then other people were participated in the race at a much later rate. So affirmative action was trying to correct that problem to make people who were still qualified for these things have access to things that they might not ordinarily do due to discrimination and due to people thinking that they were necessarily unqualified due to their race or due to their gender or other things as well. So that is to demystify some of the affirmative action stuff that is going on. But with all of these things that are happening in our country and in our world, it is normal to talk about how all of this stuff affects us. And I can tell you, for me personally, this is a stressful time that we're living in. I mean, it's stressful. It's unprecedented, right? Because the Supreme Court and all of these things, they are reversing things that took decades and centuries to build in this country. They're reversing laws that people died for, right? And I'll admit, even though I knew that this country had a lot of improvements, there were certain things that I assumed were just once they were on the law, once they were part of the books, I didn't think that they were going to get reversed. Okay, and I think maybe got a little too comfortable. So some of us, with Roe v. Wade was just a part of my life as somebody who was born in the 80s. So it's just these things, it can feel really overwhelming. It can feel really discombobulating. It can, all of these things, it's stressful. It can make you feel like, what kind of world are we going to live in? There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. I have kids, right? And all of us who are parents or who are, concerned about this next generation, what kind of world are they going to grow up in? Right? We've all seen things and signs of things getting progressively scarier and worse. Things that are looking more and more fascist, things that are becoming, less and less open and less diverse and less accepting of diversity and more shutting that down. So it's very overwhelming, and all this can lead to depression. Why try? Why even do anything when the world feels so scary and overwhelming? And all of this also can lead to anger, right? I mean, how dare people not see my humanity? How dare people not see your humanity? How dare, it makes you feel extra. I mean, all of these things can just make you feel overwhelmed, lost, hopeless, and angered. It's hard to live in a world where you feel like a second class, third class citizen. And these decisions this week are just really bringing all of that into focus. So whatever emotions are coming up for you, they're real, they're valid, and they're normal. And here's just what I want to offer to you, number one, as what to do about it. Because the most important thing we can do right now is to protect our mental health and our peace, to protect our mindset. The work that I do, that I help clients do, and that I've helped with students before I was a coach, is about mindset action, number one. Because when our mindset and our mental health is protected, we can do anything. We can accomplish anything. So number one is to let yourself feel whatever feelings are coming up for you honestly. right? If you are sad, if you are angry, if you are overwhelmed, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're fearful, all of that is valid and normal. And it's when we feel our feelings honestly that not only, do we that they pass, right? They don't stay forever in that heightened state. That the heightened, really overwhelming feelings that we feel do not stay forever. So when we let ourselves feel them honestly, we can move through them easier and with less drama and less heartache in our own personal lives. So if you need to take a little break, if you need to take a day or two to feel your feelings, that's okay. Need to take time off from work, that's okay, right? Sometimes life happens, right? Sometimes difficult moments in life happen. Sometimes difficult moments in our world happen, and we have to feel those feelings honestly. The second thing that you do is, and so when you're in that shock state, do those things that you need to do for yourself, right? So if it's just vegging out on some Netflix, okay, that's what I'm actually doing right now, right? In the midst of being a mom and my kids being home for the summer and it being overwhelming, I'm also like watching a lot of stupid shows, to be honest with you. So that's number one. Number two is to talk up to people about how you feel and release the emotions because you're not alone. Okay. And one of the worst things we can do is to allow ourselves to stay isolated in our pain because when we talk about it, and we feel community. We feel like other people feel and understand what we are going through. It can help us overcome, right? It helps us to not feel ashamed of our feelings. And that is a hugely important thing that can help us heal. And that also going along with that, talking to a therapist or a life coach, somebody who has mental health training can also help you as well because they can help you identify where your thought, they can be a very good sounding board for you. They can help to calm you down, right? They can help you to feel better and accepted and valued. And they can help you to feel loved, but they can also help you work through some unhealthy thoughts that you might be having, right? If you are feeling like, oh my gosh, our world sucks and there's nothing good, redeeming, and those feelings persist after a couple of days, then again, you might be sabotaging your own mental health, and that could lead to long-term depression, anxiety, and just worse things that won't go away. Okay, so it's very important to get good mental health support. And if you want to have a conversation with me, please let me know. I'd love to support you. Self-care also too. Monitor how long you listen to the news. Okay, now listen, I'm a news junkie. I listen to a lot of different news outlets. I listen to, Democracy Now! And KPFA and, CNN and MSNBC. I mean, I listen to a lot of different stuff, right? And I listen to the like progressive podcasts as well. But what I also do, and the local news, but what I also do is I put a timer on it now, especially when I'm upset. Now, if something big is happening, I find, me personally, I need to listen to all the details because I need to understand what's going on. But then I know my limits now. So as soon as I feel like I've had enough, I turn it off and I listen. I take walks, I go outside, I listen to something funny to balance it out, right? So self-care, you want to monitor how long you're listening to the news, give yourself breaks, balance it out with things that will improve your mood, that'll make you feel good. Also do things that are going to be helpful for you. So if meditation is your thing, walking and exercising are so good for boosting all those positive and feel good chemicals that we need to bounce back and feel emotionally resilient, right? So whatever self-care looks like for you. Some people like a bubble bath. That's not my jam. But if that's for you, go for it. And then finally, take action. Taking action is so critically important and helpful. Now, nowadays, I'm a working mom, so it's very hard for me to go. I try to go to protests and things as I hear them happening because I think it's very important for all of us to be physically there where people can see us. I think, protesting and taking action is one of the few ways that we've been able to fight for our rights. It's a very effective thing that we can do. Calling politicians, calling senators, calling Congress people, whatever it is, right? Letter writing campaign. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can get involved. But if you are short on time, you can donate, right? You can donate to organizations that are dedicated to these fights. And if you are not sure where to find them, Google them because they exist. There have been organizations and people on the ground fighting for exactly what it is that you are concerned about for decades. So if you're short on time, donate, even if it's only $5. It goes a long way, and it shows these organizations that they have people with them. Again, nobody wants to feel isolated, right? So you sending in a donation to an organization that you care about will go a tremendously long way in this fight. So just remember that the feelings that you're having right now are normal, and take care of yourself. You deserve it. Okay? We all deserve to be happy and healthy. So what will you do for yourself in the next week to support your mental health around this time? All right? You got this, everyone. Take care. Have an excellent week.